My name is C4 and I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And every year, around late April, I have absolutely no faith in my favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles, and their front office, led by Howie Roseman, that they're going to do the right thing. They're going to make the right pick. They're not going to do something stupid. And I personally feel like enough is enough. It's unfair that fans of the other 31 teams in the NFL don't have the same draft night anxieties that us Philadelphia Eagles fans have. So today, I'm going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to do a 2021 NFL meme mock draft. And what we're going to do here today is we're going to take all the teams that are picking in the first round, and I am going to do the worst possible realistic pick for each one of those 32 teams. And just then, once we have that final draft board, you guys can all feel like how we feel as Philadelphia Eagle fans on draft, The more I just say it out loud and talk about it, the more it's just depressing. It's depressing. This should be a fun video. Let's go. Now, I did ask you guys on my Twitter first before, and I get a kind of lay of the land of what the absolute worst pick would be from fans across all 32 teams across the NFL. They kind of give us a base point, give me an idea of what direction we should go with this mock draft. So let's just let the shenanigans begin. There's a couple caveats to this mock draft before we get into it. I just did kind of a run through to see how memey we could make it. There's 4 players that I decided there are a couple picks that are oh, come on, C4. But ultimately, there's no bad pick for Trevor Lawrence, so he will not be in this. I also couldn't really find a funny place for Jamar Chase or Jalen Waddle. And lastly, Patrick Surtain in the secondary. And that's maybe credit to those 4 players that pretty much any team would be smart or be a good pick by them drafting them. So without further ado, knowing that we're going to be excluding those players, let's get into it. And at pick 1, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, Urban Meyer, going with Justin Fields. All along, he wasn't thinking Trevor Lawrence. It was a smokescreen to get the player that he was familiar with, the player that he coached at Ohio State. Just imagine if that happened. And then we got here at pick 2, the Jets, who much like the Jags at pick 1, it seems like they're pretty much locked in on Zach Wilson from BYU. But the Jets decide to go QB because obviously they played themselves in a situation to go there. But then they go Trey Lance. And I feel like as much as I think Trey Lance is going to be a solid developmental quarterback, I like him maybe a little bit more than, say, Jordan Love last year when he went to the Green Bay Packers. But ultimately, when you're dealing with the 2 premier quarterbacks in the class, if one of these teams, there's, I guess, a chance. This is almost impossible that will happen, but there's almost a chance maybe the Jets aren't as sold on Zach Wilson as a lot of the people right now on the internet think. And I think Trey Lance would be like a type pick for the Jets. Pick 3, this is something that's talked about a lot right now. I think for the 49ers, if they got Mac Jones, that would be, I don't know, man. I just don't see why you would pick Mac Jones with Trey Lance or Justin Fields available. But it seems right now, man, there's a lot of steam, a lot of momentum beyond the San Francisco 49ers making that selection. I don't know. I think really, to be fair, any of these young quarterbacks going to the Niners, going to a Kyle Shanahan system, they should be somewhat successful. But I just think from a ceiling standpoint, Mac Jones, you're kind of cutting yourself short, given also the fact that the 49ers traded massive draft capital to move up to this 3 to get Mac Jones. I don't know, man. I don't know. If it happens, we'll see what happens on draft day. 4, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and here is where I actually had the Falcons going. Sewell. P9 Sewell was fringe, not a player I was going to consider for this. But I feel like for Atlanta, so many people want them to go maybe a quarterback, right? Maybe the time is now, if Justin Fields is there for say, to start planning for life beyond Matt Ryan. Or a lot of people are like, let's just go all in on offense. Let's get Jamar Chase. Let's get a Kyle Pitts. And let's see this thing, man. Let's go ride or die with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. And I feel like BPA, this could happen, man. The Falcons could just say, and with Arthur Smith, best player available is Sewell. And even though we have Jake Matthews, even though we invested a first-round pick in McGarry out of Washington a couple years ago, they just burn it on another tackle because they just see it as an upgrade. I just think that would be a very underwhelming pick, even though I do think Sewell is an outstanding tackle prospect. Pick 5, the Bengals is like salt in the wound. The double whammy, because, the Bengals' dream pick, I still think, should be Sewell. So for Cincinnati, we're going to have them go wide receiver. And so many people think right now that Joe Burrow has some swing for them to select Jamar Chase, but they just go and they go Devontae Smith. Bengals are a little bit cautious about Jamar Chase taking football off. And accordingly, if you watch any and look at any tweets, the Devontae Smith hive on social media. Did you see his numbers? Did you watch the box score for Alabama? Did you see how much yards he put up in the SEC? Because that's all that matters is production, I guess, apparently. So Devontae Smith to the Bengals, they're getting the most productive wide receiver from last year in college football. Pick 6, we have the Miami Dolphins. And I don't know how necessarily memey this pick would be, because there's a lot of Dolphin fans that are completely checked out of Tua Tagovailoa, but if somehow, some way, Zach Wilson started to slip, teams weren't as sold on Zach Wilson as maybe so many people perceive. I just think Dolphin fans would absolutely relish in having an automatic quarterback controversy now. Like, just a headache that you always love to have in your franchise is who's going to be your quarterback, Zach Wilson or Tua. So there you go. There's a great scenario for you guys. Enjoy that, Miami. Pick 7, I was also seeing a lot of people in my Twitter post saying that the Lions going quarterback in any situation because they have Jared Goff. It just wouldn't be the best way to invest. I'm going to go Kyle Pitts. Now, maybe even debatably, like this selection here for the Miami Dolphins, Kyle Pitts, there could be people that like that pick. There could be people that view Kyle Pitts, as a Kenny Galladay replacement, big outside body at wide receiver. But then again, if he is kind of a tight end, you already have TJ Hawkinson there. It's a little bit overkill. Probably could spend it at a better position. And I think the meminess of this pick would be, I think a lot of Lions fans would prefer going with the best wide receiver available. They prefer a Jalen Waddle, a Devontae Smith if they're still on the board. And we're not trying to meme this one out. And I can absolutely see just somehow, some way, they view Pitts as the pure best receiver, and that would be underwhelming for a lot of Detroit Lions fans because of the optics of TJ Hawkinson. Pick number 8, we have the Carolina Panthers, and I think for the Panthers, I think there's going to be some team that has Gregory Rousseau still as their top edge rusher. This is like the one thing when you look at all mock drafts, edge rusher and offensive tackle are usually the two positions outside of quarterback that teams will kind of go off the consensus draft board because they're premier positions. I think there's going to be some team that still places that first round edge one on Gregory Rousseau, and a team that could do that would be the Carolina Panthers. So given the fact that they got Riddick, they've spent money at edge rusher, maybe they want to try to, get struck by lightning twice, like with the success they had with Brian Burns. But I could see a team where Carolina may want an edge rusher. At 8, there you go, man. And I had a lot of Panther fans saying edge rusher would be like the worst pick for them in this year's draft. So, I took some influence from the Panther fan base. Pick 9, we have Denver. You're going to hate this one. I'm going to have to go on Kyle Trask. I do think that there are probably a couple teams. I don't know how many. A couple teams that have a first-round grade on Kyle Trask. And then I'm just like, all right, let's turn that dial up to the extreme side of things. What team, even though he's not really there, I feel like he still might be pulling the strings just a little bit. What team will get completely enamored with a big body quarterback that would just invest immense draft capital in getting that big body quarterback? And that'd be John Elway. And whenever, and I don't want to dog them because I do think Denver's done very, very well this offseason. Whatever shuffling they did in the front office seems to have paid back immediate dividends, but I still refuse to believe that there's not at least a couple guys that John Elway has their ear on things, and Kyle Trask is a John Elway quarterback. Now, ultimately, I do think also for this meme, you could put in Kyle Trask here at pick 20 with the Chicago Bears, maybe pick 19 with the football team, but, to extreme it, to have that dial at the max, where is the highest potential? Still give me, 1, 2, 3% out of 100%. Where could Kyle Trask go? I could see Denver doing something just completely asinine like that, trading back even. Even if Denver traded back from 9 to into the 20s and still ended up with Kyle Trask, I think that would just be, for all these teams, I'm just channeling my Philadelphia Eagles smartest guy in the room type general manager tactics. I could see that happening. So at pick 10, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is in a position where they should go on the defensive side of the ball, and that's absolutely where they should. But they also have a very aging offensive line, especially that left-hand side. So I'm going to look at who could be the most overdrafted, slightly overrated tackle prospect, and I'm going to go Alex Leatherwood. I could see Dallas falling in love, Jerry fall in love with the pedigree. Man, this guy played so much football at Alabama, had an insane pro day, tested out like an elite athlete. I could see somehow, some way, Dallas just being like, we got to go defense, we're going to go BPA, we got to fix this offensive line. It's our bread and butter. Tyron Smith can't stay healthy. The O-line was in shambles last year. Leatherwood has experience at guard. I could see this actually happening. This, like, out of all these picks so far, outside of, the quarterback shuffle, because who's really gonna be QB 2, 3, and 4, I could honestly see this happening. Alex Leatherwood falling, like, just someone, Jerry. All it takes is Jerry. All it takes is one crazy senile old man to fall in love with a player to completely trump any scouting, any preferences from your staff. And Leatherwood to Dallas, you'll love to see it. Pick 11. We have the Giants, and I'm going to have the Giants get J.C. Horn. I could see, falling. Like, they don't need a corner. They just got Adoree Jackson. James Bradbury was an outstanding signing, but, I could just see something where this is, I would have been just more memey to go with Barmore, like just go best D-line available. But I think given the fact that J.C. Horn is stylistically probably a guy Dave Gettleman would absolutely love. J.C. Horn, old school style, alpha style. It's cornerback, and, it's just a position where they could go corner, probably shouldn't. And I just didn't want to take that low-hanging fruit of having them just take Christian Barmore at pick 11. But easily you could swap out Horn for Christian Barmore here for the Giants. Either or, nice meme pick. Philadelphia at 12. This has been my meme pick for the entire draft process so far, and that would be Rashawn Slater. The epitome of a meme pick for Philadelphia, and in this case, it's what I'm absolutely terrified, is that we draft yet again, and I can't remember the last time Philadelphia, even Carson Wentz wasn't drafted to be a starter. I cannot remember or recall the last time Philadelphia used a first-round pick on someone that they expected to come in and contribute right away for a wide receiver. Literally every single press conference that Philadelphia holds on Friday. So after Thursday night, first round of the draft, on Friday or Saturday, you do the press conference, you talk about the selection. I cannot remember the last time Philadelphia used a first-round pick on a player that they said they were expecting to make an impact right away as a rookie. It's always, we're going to ease him in, look at his special teams ability, we don't want to put too much on his plate. Every fucking year, and that's going to be Rashawn Slater. We absolutely don't need a tackle, probably need a tackle in 2-3 years' time, but we got Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Andre Dillard, but I can absolutely see Philadelphia still, because it's Howie Roseman prioritizing the offensive and defensive lines, and they'll go, man, we had Rashawn Slater even higher than Sewell, which is shocking because we always just have this fetish for Pac-12 players. It could happen. I think Slater, Barmore, players that are solid players but absolutely won't see the field nearly enough to justify or be an impactful selection for the Eagles at pick 12. Barmore, Slater, very much. Barmore to either the Eagles or the Giants would kind of fit the bill here. We got pick 13. It is the Chargers. I'm staying them at corner, and I'm having them get Greg Newsome. Corner is a position for the Chargers, and I could see somehow, some way, just Newsome ending up being whatever reason the corner that they want. With Caleb Farley still on the board, obviously there's some medicals there. If J.C. Horn is still on the board, I think that would make it even more mean because it does seem like J.C. Horn is more consensus over Greg Newsome, but it could just be that out of park. Think of like Mike Hughes when the Vikings got him into Central Florida. Just kind of a surprising, like it's not a bad pick, but with the other players with the big board, why did you go this direction? And we're replacing Greg Newsome here with the Chargers. 14, we have the Minnesota Vikings, and Vikings have a lot of spots they can go, but here's where I'm gonna have them go and stay with the local kid, and they get Rashad Bateman as their wide receiver 3. So many other needs for the Minnesota Vikings. Offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, maybe even get a little bit younger in the secondary a little bit. And yet they're like, well, we need that third. We hit last year on Justin Jefferson. Thielen's not getting any younger. Let's keep churning. Let's keep giving Kirk Dirt some weapons. And they go Rashad Bateman, and the Viking fans go, where? That's what's going to happen. New England, staying at wide receiver, need to get explosive. No more Julian Edelman. But they don't go with the safe option. They go with someone like Kadarius Toney, who's only been playing wide receiver for 2 years. This seems like a Belichick outside-the-box type pick, where they're like, man, this guy's going to be an absolute playmaker. And it won't pan out like N'Keal Harry did. Now, that's not fair, because I'm Gator biased. I do think Kadarius Toney has a very high ceiling. But I think here with New England, while it is valid to say we need to get more explosive on offense, probably can way better invest pick 15 than selecting Kadarius Toney. Pick 16, we have the Arizona Cardinals. I think with Arizona, I'm going to meme them this pick. I think the issue with Arizona, and I'm going to use previous regimes, I have them going Zaven Collins, and here's why. Because they need a line. They could still definitely use a linebacker there to play in the middle of that defense with Jordan Hicks. But Zaven Collins is going to be a little bit of, we call Kyle Pitts a unicorn. We'll call Zaven Collins a unicorn a little bit because no one really knows exactly where his best spot's going to be. And Arizona has kind of bottled that a little bit. They get these wild card plays. We saw it with Hassan Riddick. Finally put it all together last year, and then he just left the team in free agency. Isaiah Simmons could not get on the field last year, even though he was like the freakiest player. So I think yet again another year of Arizona going for a player that doesn't really have a true position and them struggling to figure out the best way to get him involved on the field. I think that would be worst case scenario number one for the Arizona Cardinals. Pick 17, we have the Raiders, who everyone in their dog knows they want to go edge rusher. So why not with Kwity Paye there, Jalen Phillips. They're going to go with the guy that's the S-tier athlete with 7 career sacks in college football. Away from Penn State. And there you go. Because, if there's one thing the Raiders have done well is develop edge rushers. Especially a guy that's probably the biggest project edge rusher that's considered, a first, second, third round pick somewhere in that range. So the Raiders clearly would make that selection because, let's be honest, I think for as much as I meme the Eagles, if I had to say that there's one other team that's as nervous about who they're going to pick in the first round, I think the Raiders are probably going to be right up there because they have not done the best of job the last couple years. Pick 2 for the Miami Dolphins here at pick 18, and I'm going to have them get explosion on the offense, and they're going to invest in Travis Etienne, the running back from Clemson, the burner, 4.4 speed, home run hitter on every single play. But absolutely, I don't think if you're the Dolphins, even though you need a running back, I could see this happening. I could see them thinking that he is the biggest game changer that can help their offense, that can help out their new quarterback controversy with Zach Wilson and Tua Tagovailoa. But I just feel like in the census that I'm getting from a lot of fans is I don't think there's any team in the league this year, any fans of any of the 32 teams this year that wants to draft a running back in the first round. So there you go. Enjoy the running back in the first round, Dolphin fans. Pick 19. We have the Washington football team. And this is probably like the best meme pick I think I'll make is Micah Parsons. And the reason why is that Washington hasn't had the best of luck lately. Maybe it could change on the Riverboat Run, but with players with perceived character issues, right? They tried to take a flyer on Reuben Foster. It didn't work out. So right now, obviously for me, I'm someone that can only just look at tape, and Micah Parsons' tape, his testing at the pro day was S tier, but a lot of scouts that do, a lot more networking stuff seem to be character issues, care concerns for Micah Parsons. And I do think while most Washington fans would get on board with this, I still think there's a lot of people that are just like, can we just stop it with the character guys and get someone that's, a respectable human being? And I say that with an asterisk because as far as I know, who knows? Micah Parsons could be the greatest human being of all time. It's just what they're saying about his character, so I figure let's just put him in there. Pick 20, we have the Chicago Bears. Here's where we go off the rails a bit. Bears absolutely desperate for quarterback, and they take the Senior Bowl MVP, Kellen Mond from Texas A&M. There's a couple sites that have Mond going very early in the second round, so it could not be completely out of this stratosphere that some team goes, man, look at what he did at the Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl is an incredible benchmark. These last couple years, guys that play well in the Senior Bowl almost always it just feels like in recent memory, translate immediately to the NFL. So you have the Chicago Bears who are just like, man, are we really going to go with Andy Dalton this year? And they go with Kellen Mond. They take the ultimate risk, and Bears fans continue just to have their head in their hands as they try to find a franchise quarterback. Pick 21, we have the Indianapolis Colts. And for the Colts here, I'm going to have them go with Caleb Farley, corner out of Virginia Tech. And this is, again, kind of like Micah Parsons. Corner's not a major need for the Colts, but they don't really have a long-term option because you have Xavier Rhodes on a rental, Rocky Yacin's there as well. But they've struggled with corner, so this could just be like corner's not really a team for Indy. They don't really need corner this year. There's other positions, especially franchise tackle, left tackle, somewhere in that range they could go. But Chris Ballard could just, if he still had Caleb Farley as corner one, there's probably still teams that do have him. Kind of like way up here, Gregory Rousseau. There's probably teams that have Rousseau as edge one. There could be teams that have Leatherwood as like tackle two after Sewell or Slater's off the board. I do think there's still going to be teams that are going to trust the medicals, and they still have Caleb Farley at corner one. And I can see the Colts making this selection because it's BPA, because there's just so much value, that perceived value at least, from their front office that a lot of Colts fans could be upset with that selection. Pick 22, we the Tennessee Titans. And here, they're going to try to make amends for the Isaiah Wilson selection. They go with another tackle. It's like, so where's this swing and a miss out of all these tackles that are still left? How can Tennessee yet again botch the tackle position? And I'm going to have them get Jalen Mayfield. Now, I think Mayfield's a good player. He has like this goddamn legendary, iconic tape going against Ohio State and Chase Young. The reason why I'm going to meme this pick is that they're going to draft Mayfield as a tackle and it ended up being a guard. So like, just from that standpoint where they want that franchise tackle, they want that guy who can hold up the right-hand side, replace Jack Conklin that they've been looking for, and they get a guy that's going to be maybe best suited to being a really good guard in the NFL. So there you go. That's all I got for you, Tennessee. I'm not going to make fun of you too much. Pick 23 with the Jets' second pick. And I'm trying to think now, because Joe Douglas was here in Philadelphia, where could the Jets generally go that a lot of fans would be like, what? Why did we burn one of our first on that? And I'm going to be looking on the defensive line, and Levi Onwuzurike from Washington. I could see them being like, man, this guy here can play on our D-line. This guy here, you can kick Sheldon Rankins in at nose. And it's just a healthy rotational guy, right? From the time in Philadelphia, Philly's always stressing going on the defensive line. Even if you have 3 starters, depending on what your front is, they're always going BPA. And I can absolutely see the Jets just being like, really? We got to fix the offense. And we go the best, highest D lineman, BPA. And I could see Joe Douglas doing something like that, getting them Onwuzurike from Washington. Pick 24, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was probably the most consensus one that I got in my Twitter comment. And that's Najee Harris. No Pittsburgh Steelers fan wants to spend a first-round pick on a running back. So we're putting Harris there, even though I do think he is the best running back in the class. I comped him to Arian Foster, but Steelers fans don't want this, so we had to include it. 25, we have Jacksonville with their second pick. And I actually saw this pick to them. Elijah Moore. I can't remember what site it was. I don't think it was The Athletic. I feel like someone had Elijah Moore go in the first round of the Jags. I can't remember why. They just fall in love with the slot wide receiver. They think that they have outside guys in Chark and whatever they think they view in Laviska Shenault, and they're like, you know what? We need the best slot wide receiver. That's what we need. That's what Urban Meyer wants to pair with this quarterback. And there's absolutely going to be teams that if they divvy their board up like, X and Y and they have their slots, they're going to have Elijah Moore as slot one. And all it takes is one dude to fall in love with him. I mean, I think he's going to be damn good. I think first round's way too rich for my blood. But a team that absolutely wants to prioritize getting that slot position fixed, they could very well put a premier pick on Elijah Moore. Pick 26, we have the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to stay at wide receiver. I can see the Browns being like, you know what? We don't know what's going on with Odell. We don't know what's going on with Jarvis Landry, but we love those LSU wide receivers. So they get Terrace Marshall Jr., had a very good combine, 6'2", ran low 4.4s. The RAS score was 9+. And Browns fans are like, really? We went wide receiver? But I think wide receiver could be a potentially sneaky position for the Browns to, people want linebacker. I mean, I think it looks like they just signed Jadeveon Clowney a couple minutes ago. They could go in the secondary, could go edge, still. I mean, you don't have a long-term, seems like Clowney right now is like being a mercenary and just signing one-year contracts everywhere he goes. But I could see the Browns low-key sneakily going wide receiver, and Marshall Jr. could sneak in the first round. 27, we have the Baltimore Ravens, and here's where I'm just like, all right, they don't like Deshaun Elliott, so they're going to grab the top safety on their board. This seems to me like a Baltimore Ravens pick. Baltimore always seems like they're going BPA. They don't care. It always hits. Mulray's going to be a great player. And that didn't necessarily have the best pro day, but I could see the Ravens here being like, well, we want to get a little bit more upside in our safety tandems, and they go with this guy from TCU. I think he was the Thorpe winner last year, so right on cue for how Baltimore picks their players. 28, we have the New Orleans Saints. This is one that I actually saw in my comments. Saints need to go linebacker, and I could see them for sure viewing Nick Bolton as the best option at pick 28. For me, Nick Bolton, he's not bad. He's not, I think he's one of those guys somewhat limited of his ceiling. He's like a poor man's Devin Bush, Devin White type player where he's like the undersized linebacker, great athlete, sideline to sideline, just not in that tier of the Devin Whites, of the Devin Bushes. And I agree with all the Saints fans that were hitting me up on Twitter. I think Nick Bolton could happen, and you'd set yourself up for some disappointment for sure. 29, we have the Green Bay Packers, and for here, a lot of people want Green Bay to go running wide receiver. They could go in the secondary as well. I was thinking about Asante Samuel at 29, but ultimately, where they also could go? They could get defensive end. And when they're in this sport, I can see them viewing Davion Nixon as one of those guys that could take over for Lancaster, take over for Dean Lowry on the defensive line. And ultimately, would it be a bad pick? No, he was like the Big Ten defensive. Was he defensive player of the Big Ten? I think he was. And I don't hate Nixon. I don't hate that selection, but I think this would be something where like Green Bay Packers would roll their eyes, being like, okay, cool. That's what we did. We still have Kevin King playing. Still got not much outside of Devontae Adams. And we went defensive line. Okay, awesome. Thanks for the pain and suffering of this fan base. Pick 30. We have the Buffalo Bills. And this is something that we just saw today. News is rolling in that this man ran a 4.4 at his pro day. And I think that while the draft community is falling on them, someone is still going to highly rate Shaun Wade. And I think if you're the Buffalo Bills and you think he's going to be an upgrade over Teron Johnson at slot corner, I think, or view him as a safety, maybe a potential replacement to Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer in a couple years, I do think there's still going to be some teams that very, very highly rate Shaun Wade, and that could very well be the Buffalo Bills. Pick 31, the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to have them go with a man that a lot of people are trying to comp slightly to, like, you know, if you miss out on Jalen Waddle, you go with the other guy that's kind of going to be able to do the things Tyreek Hill does, and that's Rondale Moore. Wouldn't be a bad pick. Would be kind of scary when you think about it, to try to replace Sammy Watkins at wide receiver. But I think ultimately for this pick, Kansas City Chiefs fans are like, really, we had a double dip at wide receiver. We have so many other holes. Offensive line, you could say, really, probably any spot on the defense would be a potential upgrade here for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then they just go kind of with the idea of last year when they went Clyde Edwards-Helaire, where it's like, okay, wasn't really a bad pick, but does the Chiefs really need to keep improving their offense, or should they try to invest some of these premier picks on to the other spots of the team? And this would kind of be in that same regard. And we're going to finish the meme mock draft at 32 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I found the guy that has kind of shown up in a couple first rounds, and that's going to be Joe Tryon from Washington, the edge rusher. I definitely think edge is going to be a top position that the Bucs here are going to want to try to upgrade. JPP's not getting any younger. You just re-signed Shaq Barrett. So I was like, what is the sneaky edge that somehow, out of nowhere, that just breaks all mock drafts if you're doing like a mock draft game? And I have seen a couple places have Joe Tryon as a first-round edge rusher. And there you go. Enjoy it, Tampa. Have fun with this when probably other better edge rushers were on the board. So there you go. This mock draft, the 2021 NFL meme mock draft, a.k.a. if every team was ran by Howie Roseman. This is what it would be. Hope you enjoyed it. That's all I could say. Hope you enjoyed it. And that'll do it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. As always, your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section below how you feel about my meme picks. Could I have done more memed for your team? Let me know in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and peace out.